waited a long time for this, but here it is, the Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. In Australia, in production trim, but is it in the box seat if you're looking for a luxe 3-row hybrid? This is our first opportunity to drive it on Australian roads, so let's get into it. The basics first. Pricing has been released for the Palisade, which, for the time being at least, comes solely as a top-spec calligraphy hybrid. It's about where we expected it to land, the 89,900 plus on-roads, sitting it nicely between the Santa Fe hybrid calligraphy below and the electric Ioniq 9 flagship above. In standard guise it seats 8, but pay an extra $1,000 for the optional second row captain's chairs, and it's a 7-seater. Power comes from a 2.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine, good for 245 kilowatts, with 460 Newton meters of torque. The hybrid system is new and features a pair of electric motors between the engine and the 6-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Between these two e-motors is a clutch pack, which, without diving too far into the technical weeds, allows the hybrid system to operate in a number of different modes. To simplify it as much as possible, one of the motors is chiefly engaged in energy regeneration, while the other largely drives the wheels, both feeding off a compact 1.6 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It also has a few other tricks up its sleeve, which we'll come to later. At the risk of stating the obvious, this is a very big car. It measures over 5 metres from front to back, so make sure that that one fits in your garage. And Hyundai have taken a few measures to minimise the visual bulk of the car as a result. Palisade features this sweeping tapered boat-like back, which is quite elegant. It's got these massive 21-inch wheels and tyres. This is kind of reminiscent of a Range Rover Sport, don't you think? And the bright work at the top and the bottom is another clever little trick that disguises the visual bulk of the car. Yes, this is a 4-wheel drive SUV, but ground clearance is only 187 millimetres, so don't go too far off the beaten track. I like this stacked LED light cluster. It's distinctive and fresh, and there was previously a full width LED, much like you got on the Kona, but unfortunately that hit the big one due to NCAP crash restrictions. Hyundai claims that the interior design ethos of the Palisade is inspired by high-end furniture, and it all feels pretty chic in here, although this optional pale grey Napa leather would probably be described as a bold choice if you've got small children. The two 12.3-inch displays are a familiar Hyundai thing to many of us now. But this is so packed with kit, I'd probably be here all day if I tried to go through all of it. Just a few of the highlights for you. There's a big 12-inch head-up display up here, stacks of storage, USB-Cs everywhere in all 3 rows, double sunroofs, and these really interesting and thoughtful features like the UVC sterilisation, glove box with a tray above it, and the hybrid drive system also brings some very, very clever features, such as vehicle to load. You can plug your appliances into this one, and you can even do a stay feature where you can program into the sat-nav that you're going to be driving somewhere, and it will charge the vehicle's battery ahead of that, so that when you arrive to work in the car or something like that, you'll always have a full battery to work with. The Palisade is one of the very few 3-row vehicles where adults could conceivably sit comfortably in each row. This differentiates it from the Santa Fe, where the 3rd row is a little bit of a squeeze. What's more, Hyundai has equipped each row with a stack of equipment. The 2nd and 3rd row outer seats are heated, while the outer 2nd row seats are also ventilated. There are USB-C outlets and cup holders for each row, and with tri-zone climate control, rear occupants get to set their own temperature. The rearmost row also slides and reclines, so even I can get pretty comfortable in the back. The luggage bay is bigger than the outgoing Palisade too, with 300 litres behind the 3rd row, 712 litres with the 3rd row folded. You can not only motor the seats up and down from the luggage bay, but you can even slide the 3rd row electrically, which is a neat touch. Rather refreshingly, there's also a full-size underslung spare wheel and tyre. Towing is limited to 2,000 kgs with a brake trailer, something to bear in mind if you're migrating from a heavy-duty diesel. Because Hyundai has fitted so much equipment to the calligraphy version of this Palisade, there's not a whole lot left for the options list. We've already covered the captain's chairs, but other than that, you'll pay $750 for any of the 7 paint finishes that isn't white, and $295 for one of the 3 interior colourways that isn't black leather. And that's it. The overriding impression you get in the Palisade is one of refinement. Hyundai have put a lot of effort into cutting noise, vibration and harshness in the cabin with thicker carpets and more insulation on the firewall. It's not one of those hybrids where you can never hear the engine when it cuts back in, but when it does, it's quite a refined thing. It's certainly a lot less gruff than the 1.6 litre in the Santa Fe hybrid. The steering is lightish and accurate, albeit without a great deal of feel. And there are a couple of little hybrid quirks with this vehicle. One is the brake pedal. You feel it when it's regenerating. It's not particularly linear, and then it goes to friction brakes, which are huge, and they get a bit firmer. So it's just something you'll learn to drive around probably within the first week that you've got the car. When you first get into the car, bear that in mind, because they will feel initially a little bit under-servoed. The ride quality is, for a car of this size, pretty good. The big wheel and tyre set, you sometimes feel that dropping into holes in the road, and there's a little bit of bump thump. It's not too bad. Interestingly for a nerd like me, the dampers on this car are built by different people front and back. Up front, they're a German Sachs damper, and at the back, it's a Korean Mando damper. And now you know why I don't get invited to too many dinner parties. They work reasonably well. They're not adaptive, they're not air springs or anything like that, but the back does have a little party trick. It's self-leveling, so if you load the vehicle up heavily, the back will sit down and then it'll ratchet itself up to level. The engine is pretty peppy. It's not going to set your trousers on fire, but it gets you where you're going pretty quickly, and it's got a nice torque fill with the electric motor. Another really nice trick that this car has is very, very good body control, and it leans on its hybrid system for that, believe it or not. If you hit a bump, it very, very quickly engages the electric motor to just give a little burst of counter torque to lift the front so it doesn't squat or dive as you might expect it to. Another couple of tricks it's got also, it's got crosswind stability control, which is a function where if the car detects it's being moved by a crosswind, it will do a very, very subtle piece of counter steer or counter braking to keep you in line without even noticing it. There's also torque vectoring, which gives this car a little bit more agility than you might expect for a car that weighs 2.3 tonnes or 2.4 tonnes with yours truly on board. The mirrors on this car are quite interesting too. The exterior mirrors are fairly small. I think they've done that for aerodynamic reasons. This interior mirror is lovely. It's a large one. You get a great view out the back. And if you just click a button, you turn it from a standard mirror into a camera. The camera's really bright and clear, and there's a little washer on the back that keeps the camera clean at all times. From reading the comments, I know that a few of you find Hyundai's ADAS systems a little bit intrusive. Some of you also love it, but Hyundai is listening and it is responding. And in this Palisade, you can now mute systems a lot easier, and you can even kill some systems permanently, such as the speed limit change bleep, for example. So there's less of that intrusive beeping and bonging when you're driving along, and for most of us, I think that's a good thing. Fuel consumption, well, that's rated at 6.8 litres per 100 kilometres. We did a cross-country drive yesterday, which is not always the ideal conditions for optimum fuel economy with a hybrid. We got just a smidge over 8, and that's not bad going. The fuel tank, 72 litres, so this car has some real legs if you're going on a long journey. And then another bonus with this one is it runs on 91 RON fuel. This is an impressive debut. The Palisade hybrid leans on its tech without really imposing it on the driver. And if you're going to be using that third row on a regular basis, it more than justifies the additional 13 grand spend over a Santa Fe calligraphy. The range will be fleshed out in 2026 with non-hybrid models and a lot more besides. But in the meantime, that's a heck of a start. Definitely one for your shortlist. Make sure you subscribe to Drive on YouTube so that you don't miss forthcoming Palisade models. And yes, there are a few exciting ones in the works. We cover every important new car on the Australian market, so to read the full review, head to Drive.com.au.